We all know in cannabis, you are going to have multiple legal entities if you're in multiple states. You might have different ownerships. You might have your corporate structure can be set up all kinds of creative ways. We've seen everything. And so it's very important that your financial solutions support multi-company operations. But often the same people are working in multiple companies. So we want to make it as easy as we can for them. So with SilverLeaf, you'll be able to create as many unique financial entities as your structure requires. You can set security by company, so you'll know maybe certain users can only go in certain companies. You can have different processes in different companies. So one state might be a metric state and another one might not have any state track and trace, and you only have to report to the state. So each company can have different processes. Maybe one's a cultivation company and one's your processing company, your sales company. You can create a buying and selling relationship between your companies. So your cultivation company can sell your product to the processing company, whatever makes sense. And finally, you can report on individual companies financially, or you can consolidate them to get an overall picture. So let's go ahead and look at the multi-company features in Business Central and SilverLeaf. So the first thing I'd like to show is how many companies I have set up. Mine are, of course, all sample data, but I've got about 12 companies set up in here. We've seen companies, organizations that have more than 100 companies, and you know, it's tough work, but it's a lot of work, but that's just the nature of their business, and they're able to support it in SilverLeaf. To kind of ease the pain of managing a lot of companies, SilverLeaf includes a feature we call Company Central. I didn't bookmark this, I could, but we'll just go into, oh, I did bookmark it, it was on my menu. The Company Central menu, you'll see here, allows us to do a bunch of things. We've identified, for example, different date settings for different companies, what dates we're allowed to post to in each company. We can maintain users here. We can even sync our GL accounts, our dimensions, and our vendors here. So this way we can have multiple companies, and this kind of minimizes the administrative overhead on that. Jennifer, do you have anything to add about Company Central? You were a key component in the development of the solution and the functionality, given your background as a controller in the past. So you knew what people needed here. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think a lot of the times it's just like what you said, it's the administrative overhead. You know, for example, we need to lock down posting date ranges in each of these individual entities. Now, rather than having to go in and do it 80 times, and we have a customer that had at least 80 entities,
yeah.
You know, they can do it with just this one click of a button. We also found that because of the entity structuring that happens often in the cannabis industry, you know, where they have to separate legal entities in order to be compliant with the states and take advantage of, you know, the tax breaks that they can get, which are a lot more limited than a lot of other industries, they structure their entities a lot more separated. And this allows them to be able to have the same chart of accounts, like you said, or you know, and a lot of times the same vendors. That was one of the more recent additions that we have here to Company Central. And it's really been a game changer for a lot of our customers, because while it only takes a minute or two to set up a new vendor, you multiply that by 10 even, and now you're at 20, 30 minutes of your day, whereas now we can set it up once and just push it through to the other companies. So we see a lot of time savings here. And we've also even added some smaller features here, like just some visibility to like we can see here in the fact boxes, the unposted journal batches. And it's just to make sure that as we're sending things back and forth, as we're doing things in each of these companies, a nice quick way to glance through and make sure everything's done that needs to be done without having to hop into each different company.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite tools in our suite of products. I don't know. So excited I get about it.
We know. Another thing you'll have to do if you have multiple companies is you might have to, of course, create an invoice that you're going to spread across multiple companies. So for example, if I open, before we looked at the Marketing Works invoice that I spread the marketing research across different departments, well, I can also take an invoice and post it across multiple companies. So here what I've done is I've created an invoice for office supplies, $1,000 went to the admin department in my sister, one of my other companies, which is SilverLeaf Company 2. And maybe some of this expense is also going to stay in my company in the admin department. So now I've post this invoice for $1,500. And if I go in and look at, let me put in the invoice number and go under the preview posting, we can see here that this is going to post our intercompany due to and due from. So here's the journal entry, and it's going to post that $1,000 is owed to the other company, or the other company owes us, excuse me. Okay. I mentioned earlier, you can also create a buying and selling relationship between your two companies. So maybe in this company, I've grown some product that I now want to sell to my other company, to SilverLeaf 2. So when I create a sales order, my customer has been set up to identify that they're an intercompany partner. So this company is set up, this customer is set up with a code that says they're one of my trading partners and what the GL accounts are related to those transactions, intercompany transactions. So here I'm going to sell my company to some Blue Dream flower. And again, like I did on my GL side, if I go in and preview the posting, we can see that this is going to show when I actually sell this to this customer, what my due tos and due froms will be. So I've got this intercompany activity.